Live. Thank you to Deuce and Mo for introducing us to King's Reddit here. We welcome you in, D'Lo and Casey. Deuce and Mo with us. A fantastic production they put on yesterday. Came right back, followed it up with an interview with Bobby Marks over on the Deuce and Mo podcast. Guys, obviously we were working last night. Didn't get a chance to get your reaction. How are you feeling about the Sacramento Kings selection of Keegan Murray?
I think I was surprised just based on all the noise about the 4 pick that I was like, man, it sounds like they're going to probably move it. Or I got to the point in the day, I'm like, oh, they're just going to take Jaden Ivey. Maybe this is just a big smoke screen and Jaden Ivey's the guy and that's what they're going to roll with. So I don't know that I was surprised it was Keegan because there was enough smoke around his name that's like, okay, I see it. I like Keegan Murray. I do. The biggest question is just watching him play, what really is his ceiling? And I know Monty really pushed back on that. I know Matt George talked to his college coach, Fran McCaffrey, who pushed back on that significantly. I think my big take on Murray at this point is he's going to help the Kings next year. I have zero doubt. I think he's going to be a good NBA player. Is he at 3 years from now when we look back, is he going to be like the guy they go, that's the right pick at number 4? We'll find out. And we're all going to be paying attention now. What's Jaden Ivey look like in a few years with Detroit, with that nice young core? What's Benedict Mathurin look like with Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana? Those are the things we're going to be watching. But I don't know. Keegan, great size. He was a really, really good college player. Took a serious step. He's going to help the Kings.
I think my initial reaction was man, isn't there more that the Kings could do? Isn't that always the reaction though, right? Because you're like, how many problems can you fix with one player? And that's just what kind of went through my mind at first. But I've liked Keegan Murray this entire time. So I was totally fine with it. I think just mentally, I was expecting a trade down, other pieces, established pieces. And then we talked to Bobby Marks this morning and talking about those established NBA pieces and what that really would have been. It's we sometimes put it out there, but then we really don't know who that would be and what that would be and how you would even make that happen. So then all in all, I tie it back in a bow and I'm like, yeah, I'm happy with a solid player, all around player in Keegan Murray.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, it's like the great Jim Morris said, and you guys echoed it earlier.
You think you know, but you don't know, and you never will.
Yeah, I understand that. However, with that being said, I thought there was a trade out there, and I look at it like this. They need, let's just say for the sake of argument, they need 3 players this offseason. I don't really care how you get them or when you get them, but you need 3 players. And if you were to trade that pick back, which at the beginning of all this, I wasn't a proponent of, but after going through everything and seeing what's in front of you, I was all for it at the end of the day, trading back. And you look at something like Atlanta, and reportedly, we don't know for sure. Jim Moore told us we don't know for sure, but it sounds like they could have got the deal done if they would have included the number 4 pick.
Yeah, but did you want to drop the 16? I didn't want to. Well, I was open-minded to moving back for sure and trying to get, because I like Benedict Mathurin a lot. I know we were texting about him, and I like Keegan, but dropping to 16, that's a different ballgame. Now you're talking about a different level of player. I didn't like the idea of moving the 4 in the John Collins deal.
Well, I mean, here's what I'll ask you guys and ask everybody else. We come out of last night with just Keegan Murray. Yeah. Are we a better team if we come out of last night with Collins, Herter, Tara Eason, or AJ Griffin, and you don't have Harrison Barnes? What is a better situation for this team today?
I mean, you're going to have to give up more than Harrison Barnes to get both of those guys you're talking about with Collins and Herter, just based on salary, right? Herter makes 15, Collins making 24. Yeah, so
yeah, I mean, take her out of it. Take her out of it if you want to. Are they a better team with AJ Griffin and John Collins?
I don't know about AJ. I've got the concerns about the knee stuff. Although he did finish the season at Duke, good shooter. That's interesting. It's an interesting question. I mean, part of it too is all right, what what other moves can you make at this point? And I think that's probably my biggest concern with this. And I guess it goes to your point, is like, all right, what's your ammunition now to go get a move? I think most people go, oh, Harrison Barnes. Yeah, but can you sacrifice losing Harrison Barnes now? Like, what are you going to be able to do to get some more talent in here? We know that. We talked to Bobby Marks today, and I was curious what he thought about Rashawn Holmes' value. I think it's way lower now based on contract, his production last year, the injury. I mean, he just was not good at all last year. He still thinks there's value in it, and he thinks that's a deal that the Kings can move. And so maybe there's something there with the expiring, but like, also, like, what are you getting in return? They've got some holes to fill for sure. I just think Keegan is going to. I think Kings fans are going to like Keegan. I think we're going to look back and go, you know what? This guy can play. He's smart, high IQ. He's got great size. They need shooting. The guy's got size and he could shoot. I think he's a smart defensive player. And he carried the offensive load for that team. He's not going to have that same responsibility in Sacramento when you got Fox and Sabonis. So I think Kings fans are going to like what they see out of him. But it goes to same thing we said last year when we're watching Jalen Johnson go to the Hawks or Chengu go to the Houston Rockets, and some of those moves, we're like, all right, what's that going to look like? You drafted Davion Mitchell when you had De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton. So I'm eager to see what Monty has up his sleeve, because it's not going to be easy. And then you talk about free agency. One, not a destination at all. You've got the mid-level and biannual. Most teams have that too. How are you going to make an impact?
That's my concern.
And Mo, I'll go back to you talking about the surprise. The surprise for me was like everything that Deuce and Kenny just outlined there is you felt like, if nothing else, you had a potential trade chip in Jaden Ivey had you made that selection. Like we saw Jaden Ivey get drafted by Detroit, and almost immediately there's tweets coming out about New York is still attempting to acquire him. That's kind of what I thought, like especially, and I think what really compounded all of this was the Adrian Wojnarowski report before the freaking NBA Finals. You're talking about a 4-player draft, and the asking price is going to be really high, and he's really, really valued. I think it set a tone for something that maybe wasn't realistic for anybody involved.
Yeah, he like created this narrative, like tune in because things are going to be exciting.
I don't know that he created that though. Yeah. Like when you
that's where the frustration comes in.
That's the like. It's tough when you listen to these reports, but all of these guys, Woj, Shams, everybody, they've got their angles too, right? They're helping get a story out there. That report benefited nobody other than the Sacramento Kings, which is why it was like, wait, it's a 4-player draft and you took the 5th best player. I think that's where the confusion, because it felt like it was always Ivy or Murray. You know, Deuce, you're talking about Kings fans, they're going to be happy with Murray. I think everybody's going to be happy with Murray. He's a good ball player, but I think people are still scratching their head. Like, if this was a 4-player draft, why did you take the 5th best player?
Can I just say, though, I think sometimes, too, again, I get it. When people say this is a 4-player draft or this is a really good draft or, oh, there's not too many guys in this draft. Like, most of the time, these people end up being wrong, right? And you don't know going into this. And I appreciate everyone's educated guesses. I appreciate everyone's work that goes into it to why they believe that this player is going to do this, this, this. And that's why these top 4 players, and Jaden Ivey is part of those top 4 players. I understand all of that. But I also think it's so interesting that we do get so caught up on that and go, it's black or white, it's that or this. And really, there's that gray area of we just don't know. We don't know what Jaden Ivey is truly going to be. We do know that his athletic ability, that skill set alone is something special. And you're probably never going to lose that, right? Barring injury, you're probably never going to lose that. So we know he'll have that, but there's so much of the unknown, where at least with Keegan Murray, there's a lot of the known for people, right? And you can't even say he's going to end up being this great player in the NBA. A lot of people are saying that, and I even think that's funny. I even think when we talk about Keegan Murray's workload and not even doing as much on the offensive end, sometimes we go, that's going to be better for him. He's not going to have that pressure. Sometimes people thrive under that pressure, right? We talk about Davion Mitchell last year. He's the type of guy that played better when he was playing more. So we don't know what it's truly going to be, but what they were going with and what Monty said in his presser last night was that he believed that Keegan Murray was the best player available. Whether we believe that or not, that is what he truly believes for the Sacramento Kings.
And maybe he was on their board. My thing with that is like, what GM doesn't come out and say they got the best player available? No one's going, hey, you know what? We thought Ivy was the best, but we went fit here. Yeah. I think one of my pushbacks too on this is I wish, and this is hindsight, if let's just say the Kings were like, we're going to draft Murray no matter, we want Keegan Murray. Leak out there like crazy that Jaden Ivey's your guy. Yeah. Convince everyone, convince us, convince teams, convince agents that Jaden Ivey is the guy. So Detroit's like, damn, we got to really make a move here. Because I don't think, I think it got to draft day, and I think Detroit's like, they're not drafting Jaden Ivey.
The day before draft day when they moved Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not moving him.
They're going, Keegan was in town having lunch with Fox and Sabonis. They're not. So, and I think Detroit was like, you know what? We'll take the risk here. We're cool with either option here at 5, but we think the Kings are taking Keegan Murray, and it paid off for them. So I think in hindsight, it would have been nice for them to be able to play that game and then move down a spot, acquire an asset, whatever that would be, a future pick, a player, whatever, and still get your guy.
But we did, when we did talk to Bobby Marks too, he was like, Keegan Murray, in my opinion, was not going to be there at number 7 either. You know,
if
so
they
like
moved too far back.
His point was, you know, like if you did, you just don't know. And so if you felt that confidently, like this is what we're trying to do, then do that. I mean, really, I leave all my disappointment with the second round picks, because I think that was just I think that is where the mistake was being made yesterday for the Sacramento Kings.
No, I definitely want to ask you guys about that. I will say one thing though, the frustration, and Mo, you're hitting the nail on the head, because we don't know. And we say this all the time. Jim Moore told us once again. But the thing about it is, and this is a dangerous game because you don't know who's saying what, but it sounds like this came from the Kings. Everything that Woj said. When Woj said it's a 4-player draft, he said the Kings believe it's a 4-player draft. And then a couple days ago, he doubled down on it. And once again, maybe he was acting, he went rogue, he was acting on his own or whatever. But he comes out and he's like, they feel it's a 4-player draft and there's a drop-off after 4. A huge drop-off. And then you get that draft. Keegan Murray, I don't think there's a huge drop-off, so I never agree with that to begin with.
I'm with you on that. I even look at Jaden Ivey, and I like him. I'm not as in love as some people are. I think there's some. I don't look at him as a can't miss prospect. I look at him as a guy that's got some upside for sure because of that. What Warren is saying, the athleticism, the explosiveness. But man, watching him, there are more times where I left disappointed at times, just because I mean, the highlights for sure are crazy. Like you're like, damn. And if he gets the in-between game down, the ball control, these are all things he can work on, of course. But, man, defensively, I'm like, what's going on? Like, he's playing in a Big Ten title game against Keegan Murray. I'm like, this is a championship. Let's go.
When there was even, like, just the lack of urgency, again, I'm not acting like, oh, man, that's where I made my decision. I wasn't a Jaden Ivey person. It was just like, I was like, oh, okay, interesting. I wonder what his motor is. And then when we asked Jay Billis and we asked lots of different people who are around the college game about his motor, no one seemed to truly have an answer. Confident in himself, but the motor, what is it? What does and maybe you guys, I hope he does. I hope it's like that Anthony Edwards situation where he comes in and he realizes, okay, if I want to change my game, I need to work harder on this end of the floor and I need to listen and do certain things differently. And I think that'd be so cool, if not for the Kings, but I think that'd be so cool for him as a young individual player if he can figure that out. But right now, like, it's just such a big question mark.
And I think that's where we're at today, right? I think most people are cool with Keegan Murray. I think most people are like, hey, could the Kings have found a way to play this better, move down to get him as opposed to taking him at 4?
And I think all of us have laid this out at various points. Kenny brought this up on the show yesterday. I'm sure you guys did as well. Actually, you brought it up earlier in this conversation. It's less to do with Keegan Murray and more like, how are you going to fill out the rest of this roster? Because I don't think he's feeling great about this roster. And one last note on Jaden. I think one of the other things that really, and I'll speak for myself and the influences, Jaden Ivey's been around basketball his entire life.
Yes.
He's been around basketball people his entire life.
Mhm.
So one of the people who really got me buying in on Jaden Ivey is someone who's known him since he was a baby. And knows what type of person he is, know what type of work ethic he has. And that swayed me a lot. I saw all of the things that you were talking about in that Big Ten championship game. Shoot, Drake Yu, when Drake Yu, he pointed out all of those concerns that we had. And I had that.
That's St. Peter's game.
This feels like we're talking about De'Aaron Fox. Like if you're getting an identical type player, that's not good for the Sacramento Kings. Again, I still think the world of Jaden Ivey. Detroit's going to be on the D-Lo.
They did a great job.
Yeah, he's going to be on the D-Lo and KC League Pass channel, as is Oklahoma City. Because after Chet Holmgren's outfit last night, I got a whole new. I've been eyeballing Chet Holmgren for the last 24 hours. That dude is a whole vibe to me. Like he's going to be must watch for me. I got to follow him on the social channels to peep him out in the as he makes his way around some of these different spots in the National Basketball Association.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't look like a guy on the surface that looks like he's got that type of
swagger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Swag champ. That's what he is.
That front. How about that front line of Poku and Chet combined 245 pounds? Damn,
that's amazing. Back to the concerns over the roster. Like what we ended the offseason talking about, and this isn't Jaden Ivey or Keegan Murray, but we ended the season talking about we got to surround these guys with shooters. Here we are at the fourth pick. We weren't, Keegan Murray is actually a good stretch shooter, but what is the approach now? Like Monty's going to have to get really creative for us to not be back in this situation next year, because I don't know if you're doing a marathon show if the Kings are out of the lottery. I know we aren't, but if as long as they're in the lottery, we're doing those long shows.
Yeah. I'm fascinated what they do, because like the expiring deals out there, they're not like huge, and even that, like how many times are you going to get an expiring deals and turn that into a guy? Like, that's just not going to happen. You might be able to get like a roster guy that maybe helps you. You're not getting like, oh, this is a third guy, this is legit.
Right.
I feel like Monty's betting on internal improvement more than anything. Like I think he's like, no, we believe that Fox is the guy you saw with Sabonis. He's going to be even better. He's going to be great with Mike Brown. Sabonis is going to do his thing. Keegan's going to be better. I think that's the bet. And I'm not saying that's the right call at all. And this goes back again to we talk so much about like the approach. And then Kenny, you've talked about this. Like, no, screw it. Just make the playoffs. Just make the playoffs. Like it's going to be hard to make the playoffs. And then like, I can't help but look, just to be honest. And I'm not Mr. Teardown guy, but that was a path they could have chosen. Orlando did that a couple of years ago. Vucevic out, Fournier out, Gordon out. Now you look at them 2 years later.
They look sexy.
Sucks.
I mean, fun.
Wagner, Banchero. I mean, who knows how it's going to look out, but that's intriguing. Houston. All right. Blow it up. Looks like they've got some young guys. Detroit, they're starting to figure it out now. And you look at Sacramento, and it's like, all right, Fox, Sabonis are legit. Okay, can you get some? And then you look at it. Oh, wait, Jeremy Grant just went to the Portland Trail Blazers. The Lakers should be better. Could they get Kyrie Irving? The Clippers. Denver is going to be better. It's hard to see a path.
Yeah. Not only is it hard to see the path, you guys, like, Kenny, you brought up the whole Kevin Huerter thing. I was telling Deuce when we heard the rumblings of something with Kevin Huerter and John Collins, like it did excite me because I was like, ooh, not only was Kevin Huerter a Kings killer when he played them, but
he looked like Durant.
Yes, exactly. But at the same time, like, he not only has a shot, but he has the ability to take it in. Now, defensively, there's some flaws there and everything, but that's going to happen too with a lot of pure shooters in this league. And there's so much value in those pure shooters that there's not a lot of them. So then I do look internally and I go, can someone like Davion Mitchell really make his shot that much better and take a leap? What's going to happen with Dante DiVincenzo in that mid-level exception? Maybe, the Kings end up matching the $10 million. The other teams would be paying him. And he is better and healthier this next season.
Terrence Davis.
But you're banking on things. And it's just like, there's Yeah, there's just not enough confidence in that.
My prime target I want right now,
Oh.
and if he's really available, is OG Anunoby from Toronto.
You
And
don't have enough.
I
You don't have enough. You don't have 4 no more. You don't have enough.
well, you do have future picks, though. You have future picks, and that's the other thing. And I don't know. I don't know what the package would be. I don't know if Toronto even wants to give him up. We saw the report from Chris Haynes that said like Portland was trying to use the 7 to get him. Obviously, that did not happen. They go with Shaedon Sharp. But like, I look at OG and I'm like, let's take a swing at this guy. What's it take? I mean, you've picked this approach to do the win now, get to the playoff thing, then go for it. Like, get someone like OG Anunoby, who's still young. I know it's a gamble because of the injury history. Gamble. 48 games last year, 43 the year before that, but 6'8", 6'9", defends almost every position on the floor, hits the corner 3, elite cutter, who I think he was in the 95th percentile on scoring on cuts. It's like the perfect guy. Go get that guy. So the aggressiveness has to be there, because if you're just betting on internal growth, I don't think that's a good bet.
And this is the problem. And when you talk about picking a path, that's what it is. It's not about should you tank or should you not tank. It's about picking a path. And he's refused to pick a path. Going after trading the 4 to get Collins and Hurt or whatever the case may be. Hey, you can say, hey, well, Collins isn't that good or Kuzma's not that good, but you're absolutely going for the playoffs. If not, what are we doing with Fox and Sabonis? Like, just tear it all down. But right now they're just kind of sitting here and they're like, oh, maybe Keegan can help us, and we don't really have any assets, and we're looking internally, and it's not doing anything. And you touched on something that bothers me right now and worries me about Monty being there. And we don't have the answers. We don't know just yet, but it's looking like he's a little passive. It's looking like he's a little slow on the draw, where we saw all night last night, people making deals, trying to get better. And he's just kind of sitting there. He's just like, play it patiently. We wasted a whole season last year because the guy wouldn't pull the trigger on Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley. And eventually it took him forever to pull the trigger on Tyrese Halliburton.
Can I just push back though a little bit, because it's like it takes 2 teams to tango, like it's like, what about these other teams that are like, that's not good enough, especially when it came to Buddy and Bagley. And I get it though, because it's like, it's your job, make it happen. But then even in the draft, it's like, we want to blame him for being passive and not being aggressive enough, but we also don't know what was going on behind the scenes.
We don't, Morgan, but look around. Everybody else making deals.
I mean, what big deals did we see yesterday, though? I mean, Danny Green.
Detroit doing things to get better. The Knicks are at least making deals to get draft picks. We got Houston making deals.
Wait, do you want the Knicks deal? Is that the Knicks? I mean, the Knicks got 3 first-round picks, and they're kind of like whatever picks. Like, you don't really know. They're heavily protected. Like, what's that turned into? Maybe it's part of a Kyrie package. I don't know. Like, I understand. I don't know.
That's a pattern. That's a pattern. This is a pattern now. This isn't about just last night.
Well, I see. My pushback on that is like, yeah, the Buddy thing fell apart. How's that on him? LeBron James stepped in and said, no, we're trading for Westbrook. We're doing that deal. Buddy thought he was gone. Montrezl Harrell's hitting up Rico Hines going, where should I live in Sacramento? This deal seemed like it was done last year. And you know what? Yeah, I don't think hindsight, Bagley and Buddy being on the team at the start of the year was a bad thing, because they were checked out. They did not want to be in Sacramento. What, to Monty's credit, he was able to take Buddy and get some bonus out of it.
After we wasted the entire season. And all I'm saying is, and I'm not saying some of this
you seem like sometimes you want to make a deal for deal's sake. And like,
no, I want to get a deal done. Like, I'm going to say this. It's not always his fault, but it just never happens. Right? Like,
he made a huge deal last year.
He made a huge deal last year, but how long did it take?
Trade deadline. I mean, that's 40 games happens.
Figure out what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought the Bagley thing went on far too long. And the Buddy thing, I think his thought process, I mean, there are things with Monty and those decisions that I didn't love. One, if Luke was going to be that much on the hot seat to start the season, he shouldn't have been back.
No.
We know that. Buddy, his thought was, hey, we'll give him the freedom. We'll let him get his value up. He'll be happy. Yeah, and he'll buy in. Well, that was cool for the first 15 games. He bought in. But what happens when things start going bad? What happens when losing happens? That's what really, I think, messed that up for sure.
And you guys, wait, really quick. This is my other thing that I don't like banking on this either, but do you think maybe the Mike Brown factor could be a factor in helping out this team play team basketball and learn how to play basketball the right way this next season?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, it could help. But I think, and you're talking to somebody who thinks the roster.
Neutral corners. We got to go to neutral corners. We got to let these guys go. Like they've been doing podcasting for the last 4 hours.
Oh, I thought we were going 12 more hours.
Yeah,
Let's keep it going.
What are you doing, Damian? We're here. Let's go.
No. Y'all rock me.